Welcome out to Buena Vista, Colorado. Once again, I'm Caleb Burkraft with Heart of the Rockies Radio, and joined by Julia Fuller, who is the head cross country coach. And year 3, if I'm not mistaken, 4 for cross country here. You've been building the program, and I think last year kind of saw really a lot of the fruits of what you've been building show up, and a lot of youth really bringing that fruit to the table.
Absolutely. I mean, last year was just a really fun season. We had, I think, 6 or 7 seniors, and so it was just people who I had been around since their first year and my first year, and so that was fun. And then being able to bring them up until their senior year and having those freshmen last year really kind of do a great start to their season as well. We had a great finish to our season, both teams going to state, and couldn't ask for much more.
When you look at the numbers, obviously some excitement came out from that. Girls, you said you didn't get necessarily a ton of new kids out, but you brought everybody back from the team that was not a senior. And that includes, well, before we get to the boys, that includes a couple of girls that at state track made a big difference in some of the distance races, and even in cross country. I think sophomore year for the two of them, and you'll get to who they are, I'm sure, in a second. Sophomore year for the two of them, could see them looking to maybe get on the podium at the cross country state meet.
Absolutely. I mean, that's I'm sure one of the goals. We haven't touched on goals just yet. We're waiting till after the first race, but I'm sure that'll be up there for both of them. And we actually have, so those two girls, Molly and Mallory, we're on a state relay in track, and then we're also state qualifies as individuals. Asia Hogan is also joining us for cross country this year, who was on that state relay as well. So we've got a good chunk of that team coming in, and then just all the other returning runners who know how I coach already and know my expectations already, and we already have that relationship built. It's awesome.
When you look at the boys' side, a lot of new faces on the boys' side have come out, and probably from a group of kids that, if you're a coach, you and I were talking about it, it's probably some of the toughest kids mentally that you're going to get out there. You got a lot of wrestlers on the team, and a lot of the small wrestlers. You didn't get the heavyweight. You got the 106s, the 113s, the smaller kids coming out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think they all enjoy that they get to train in this season together, and then next season as well. So that's really fun.
Where do you think the strength in the boys team is going to be? Because we mentioned the youth kind of movement coming from the girls' side, and the cohesiveness they're going to have from track to cross country.
For sure.
What about on the boys' side? Because there are kind of some holes and some more pieces that are going to start being interesting in that storyline.
For sure. I mean, already we're seeing Isaac Hutchings and Roston Sherlock and Jack Helmke stepping up to practice with those boys a little bit too. I mean, they're somewhat young crew as well. None of them are seniors, so that's exciting. And we have Carlos Hutchings as our male senior and Scout McMurray as our female senior this year. So one of each. It's awesome.
Well, to kind of round out things on young teams, how do you train a young team, and how do you get them to where you're not burning them out before they're a junior or senior to where they don't want to come out for the season afterward, but you're also pushing them to get the most out of them?
For sure. I mean, I think early on when kids are freshmen, I just want them to feel a part of the team and have fun and get out there and run a first year of races. We're not really worried about much more than improvement along the season. And then as they become sophomores and juniors, it's a little more like, all right, you've run some races, you know how to do it, let's hone in on it and let's have a little bit of competitive fun with it too.
You guys seem to do a lot of team running as well, where it's groups that go out, not individual trail running or anything like that. How much does that help, especially in a race? Salida, I think, gave some definitions of that in a couple of theirs with their boys team last year with their pack times. Your girls gave some definitions with that pack time. But how big is it to have that pack mentality in practice that carries over to the races?
For sure. I mean, it's like anything. It's way more fun to suffer through things with a friend. So why not do something?
Nothing makes you feel
together?
better like feeling terrible with somebody
Exactly,
else.
Yeah. And it builds a great bond. So, I mean, it's a lot of fun. And then also, I mean, they just are able to push each other. There's nothing like being on top of a team and being that number one runner on a team and not having someone to push you. And so it's awesome that they can do that.
Now, cross country, as far as getting to state, a little bit different from some other sports. You go to regionals, top 2 teams, and then you get any extra qualifiers individually. Where would you say you're looking at right now? Early season, who's the challenge is going to be, not just in region, but across the state? Anybody that you kind of, if you don't know, don't take it to heart. But is there anybody that you've kind of looked at over the summer and or circled at the end of last year and said, man, they ran well at state, or they're going to have these kids coming up?
Lions always puts up just awesome numbers, so they're always someone that we're watching for come state. We don't see them a whole lot the rest of the season, which is kind of a bummer, but definitely.
Well, season starts up. Scrimmage is next week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, pre-state is next week.
That's up at Leadville, CMC.
No, Colorado Springs.
Okay, you went the other way on me. Last year you go to CMC. This year you're
well,
just
we'll
switching.
We'll be there the following weekend.
You're doing the real one up there this year. So season starts up. I'm looking forward to it. We'll be having some of the kids on. Keep an eye on Facebook, Heart of the Rockies Radio Sports. We'll have more interviews like this one. Julia's probably going to skirt away from it and avoid it, but we'll get the kids on here and check it out for interviews as well online and over the airwaves, and we'll keep tabs. Thanks so much, Julia.
Yeah, thank you.